I think, first of all, the attention on big techs and sovereignty. So the attention on how digital platforms will be interfering not just with democracy, but with our minds, with our well-being, with our fundamental rights. And connected to that, how the geopolitical situation in the world, in an evolving world, which in several parts is going far from the rule of law, will interfere with data protection rules. And a personal wish for the next 10 years in terms of topics is to focus more on marginalization and vulnerability, more on marginalized groups in the data protection discourse and in the AI regulation. There's some, but we need to go deeper.
Today we've been discussing a lot about the complexity, so-called complexity of the EU digital rulebook. To me, the biggest challenge that we have for the next 10 years is going to be enforcement, and enforcement of the different layers. And it's not a given. We have to start with GDPR, but we also have now, for example, DSA and DMA, and we need to understand how to make the most of them, and in particular, what is going to be the role of individuals for the enforcement layer.
I think it's very much about how do we study data protection in the context that is constantly evolving with more data laws, AI laws, anything that is just not just data protection. We have to manage to understand forums about everything, and also explain how data protection and privacy are still relevant and how they fit together and how it is important. And I think it's clear to us that it is important that we can only understand the AI Act if we understand the GDPR, but we have to keep insisting on this. So I think the main challenge, how to keep studying data protection law that it's already rich and evolving and complicated, while studying also everything that surrounds data protection law.
In the next 10 years, it will be crucial that the European Union is able to unify its implementation and enforcement of digital rules, and to defend the idea of a global order based on rules also in the digital space and on data protection. This means not having all the same rules all over the world, but to have some guiding principles and to maintain a dialogue and an ability to build some compatibility between different systems. This will require a lot of effort, and it requires EU to be united in working together.
For me, the biggest challenge for the coming 10 years is how to protect children better online. That means also protecting their privacy, but preventing them from getting harmed by addictive algorithms and harmful content.
I guess in the short perspective, the most important things to do is to implement the law that we already have in the European Union and enforce it in the proper way. In a little bit longer horizon, I think neuroscience and neurodata is something that we have to deal with, as well as the problems of quantum technologies, which are not the problems, which are the challenges, because they give us both the challenges for the data protection law, but also the possibilities to protect the data in better way than it is at the moment.
One of the biggest challenges, I think, is how are we going to combine the need for innovation with the need to have consumer protection and consumer empowerment. AI is a very tangible example of that. On the one hand, you have AI that is in need of massive data sets to innovate, to create new things, to create innovation that consumers want. And on the other hand, you have consumers that don't really trust the whole thing and feel a little bit out of control. So the biggest challenge for the upcoming years is, I think, how can we combine both? You have some people saying it's either one or the other, but that's just an easy way out. I think we should think of creating a framework that makes sure we can have a trustworthy innovation, and while also respecting consumers' empowerment and consumers' data.
In our work, every week can be different and with new events, as we saw recently. I think that what we are looking for is also the connection between data protection, the technologies and the human body. I think this is something that will be more and more important with transhumanization. I think that we are talking about the fact that people can upgrade themselves to improve some vulnerabilities or sickness. And so for sure, this is something that we will look into that, because it will put data protection, I think, at the core of what is really the remaining space of freedom. If the data protection was for the house, now it will be about the brain, and we will have like new legal question about how consent can be expressed when you are even below the threshold of consciousness of the reality.
And we are now ramping up adoption of AI. And there are two interesting phenomena that I keep an eye on. One is, of course, agentic AI, which is the ability to transfer decisions you want to make to software agents. The other one is neurosymbolic AI, which is about reasoning. It's about making sure that the AI has little steps in terms of thinking and to become actually a more smart coach, so to say, or mentor, which you can interact with. And obviously, these two paths will trigger new privacy questions that we need to think through. And whether that has to do with user autonomy or the loss of control, to me, in summary, this always leads to the question, when we embrace technology in our society, to what extent does that mean to be a human in the near future?
I think that the most important one in my daily work is really sharing data with partners, sharing data with authorities when you have to carry out some internal activities. One specific example on which I've been working recently quite a lot. In our daily work at the International Committee of the Red Cross, we look for missing persons who have disappeared because of an armed conflict situation. We do that not alone. We do that with a network of partners. So we have tools to do that with a number of actors which are present in 194 countries, so 194 realities, which might be quite different, and of course the legal framework also might be different. So immediately you understand the difficulties to have a tool that so many countries or so many national societies from different countries can use together in a trustful way, in a trustful manner, not only technically speaking, but also legally speaking. And that's for me a big challenge that I have to face in my daily work, and that will certainly last for the 10 years to come.
Thank you for asking this very difficult question. There are, of course, many different things I could name, but I want to try to think of something that maybe not everyone has said, which is, I think the geopolitical challenges will be quite significant, particularly for the EU, which has such a well thought out, very complicated structure of privacy and digital regulation. I think there will be both internal challenges, so populist parties in the EU trying to change the laws. There will be competition from laws in other regions that are trying to offer a better product, maybe for regulation. And there will just be direct challenges from other regions too, trying to take down or to change EU regulations. So there needs to be a really strong political backbone within the EU to fight for our European digital values in coming years.